It is Sean here, and today we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be talking about my passion. Now, I don't know if you can see it very well, but there is a locomotive sitting here. In fact, let me turn on the light real quick. And I know this is like a extraordinarily blinding light, but this is one of my many model steam locomotives. My passion is steam. I have loved these things since I moved up to Boone, and we're going to dive into a little bit of a history about steam locomotives and why I love them so much. So, roughly in the 1800s, steam locomotives were just pretty much being invented. Richard Trevithick designed the locomotive and basically gave it joyrides for people. It really wasn't meant for anything but an experiment. It became a workhorse. And slowly, as the years progressed, the locomotive became the giant that it has become, which is a industrial, it shoved the industrial era so far into the future. It was unprecedented how many machines were powered by steam. There are three types of main fuel for a steam locomotive. There are coal, oil, and wood. Some people talk about the steam turbines, but that era was very brief. There was also the attempts to make an electrical steam locomotive. That plan fell through in Russia. Steam engines in particular are my personal favorite because of all the intricate moving parts. They are a wonderful sight to see, operational, and it is amazing to see one of these in full operating condition. Sadly, however, with most of the steam locomotives in the era becoming older in age, the United States and many countries to follow started to push steam to the side. Diesel locomotives started to come into the picture, but these particular giants didn't go out without a fight. They put up an extreme fight throughout the years, and sadly in the year 1956, the last commercially operating steam locomotive was pulled from service for commercial reasons. The engine sitting in front of you is Union Pacific number 844, the only steam engine not pulled from active duty on a Class 1 railroad. Now, there's a difference between commercial service and active duty. Active duty means that the engine was still in operation far after its use. In commercial service, it was being used to make money for the railroad. 844 no longer makes money for the railroad unless it is used in excursion services and brings joy to people in the 20th century to see such wonderful machines like this one in operation. For most of us, a steam locomotive seems like a thing of the past, something that belongs in a museum, or even in some cases is just a memory in our history books. But to some people, like me, a steam locomotive has very important pieces to it. How they operate is so much different than any other locomotive that has ever existed. Diesel locomotives don't even compare to the size and strength of some of these steam-powered machines. In fact, the Union Pacific had some of the largest, if not the largest, locomotives ever built, until 1941 when the world's largest steam locomotive was created. Each steam locomotive had a firebox, seen here. The firebox was used to burn the fuel and create a huge amount of heat that would boil the water. Engines would run anywhere from 100 psi to up to 300 pounds of pressure. They could power down the rails at anywhere from 10 to over 90 miles an hour. Some engines were designed for freight services, while others were designed for passenger. Several locomotives were used also in mixed units, where they were both pulling passenger and freight units. During the World Wars, steam locomotives pulled thousands of troops across the United States, and also helped across the world. The United States built a class called the S-160 steam locomotives, which were designed to run in almost any country during World War II. A handful of these locomotives still survive in the UK. Once the steam pressure was risen high enough, The engineer in the cab would control the pistons via a throttle. The throttle would control how fast the steam locomotive moved. The Johnson bar, or gear shift, would be used to gauge how much steam was actually going into the pistons. Sadly, however, as mentioned prior, money and labor costs put steam engines in a very bad light, and sadly, most of them disappeared. However, model railroaders such as myself are able to keep such engines such as this big boy here in pristine operating condition. We can simulate any era we want with model railroading, but there's a catch. The Union Pacific Railroad is one of the few mainline railroads that retain steam locomotives and take them around the world, or at least around the United States. Around the world, steam engines are seen as a piece of the past and rarely seen in public. If they are seen in public operating, it is a tremendous surprise. Nothing of this magnitude has ever been seen since they stopped operating. Yet for some bizarre reason, it seems like the more that the years go on and the more that the steam engine becomes obsolete, it seems like they keep gaining in popularity. Yet, me saying that they're obsolete is false. They still have a purpose in this world. They teach us what America once was and the workhorses that once powered this proud nation. This nation is still proud, and sometimes, if you listen carefully, sometimes in the hills of Cheyenne, old engineers can hear the sounds of the big boys thundering up the valleys. Steam locomotives are my true passion. It's honest work working on the railroad, and getting to work beside one of these machines myself, I can truly say that they are living, breathing giants. Steam locomotives are just that. Giants. Giants of the past, blazing their way into the future. Somehow, no one can figure out how, but they keep gaining in popularity. It's amazing to see one of these giants just sit there in glory. If you want more information about this locomotive, there are several links in the description. You can check out the links about different locomotives, different types of locomotives, how locomotives operate, and even where you can find some operating steam engines in the United States and around the world. It's definitely fun to see these engines operate. Sadly, I cannot operate any of the engines today because I do not have the required power to operate such a beast. Thank you everyone for watching this video, and I really do hope you had some informational facts about steam locomotives that you didn't know, and at least come away from this realizing that I'm one crazy son of a gun when it comes to trains. Most of you who are my friends, though, already knew that. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. Each of the engines seen in this video I have purchased. They are very expensive, and I do my best to keep them in the best condition possible. Just like the real engines, these require a lot of maintenance. So, please go to the Patreon page down below and subscribe to the 8441 fundraiser. That will assist me in getting one of the engines seen in the video back in operation. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you in the next video on the High Iron.